So I want to go ahead and welcome you back and congratulate you for making it through a little more than half of the course so far. Just to review what we've been doing so far, we've basically made our way through the classroom in a book and, doing the tutorials and really learning about the tools. And now we are actually going to move on and create some original projects of your own. And so first, we're just going to kind of talk about, what that process is, what design is, how you go through it, and then also, review our learning objectives and think about how we're going to actually apply the tools that we've learned so far to original projects. All right, so let's move on. So just to review the student learning outcomes for the class, we were to comprehend and apply the techniques used to create and modify artwork using a vector-based program. So you've been doing that in the, through the tutorials and learning the tools, and now you're actually going to do that with your own original projects. You've also created and transformed Illustrator drawings. Again, you've learned the tools at this point. You should feel, pretty confident, not on an expert level, but at least on a conversant level. And you're actually going to apply those skills to actually creating your own original projects using Illustrator. We've also applied elements of Illustrator skillfully in order to incorporate type and drawing images, so learn to just bring type and image together. And combine, integrate, modify, and rearrange layering, shadowing, transparency, and blending modes in order to create a variety of Illustrator images. So you've actually gone through, you've learned about layers, shadows, transparency, various ways to blend and combine shapes. And so again, just to review, exactly what we've done so far this term. You've been introduced to the workspace. You've learned about selecting and aligning objects. You've learned to create and edit shapes. You've learned to transform objects. You've learned to draw with the pen and pencil tools. You've learned about color and painting. Working with type. So one of those learning objectives is actually bringing it together type and image. Working with layers, actually learning how to select layers, move objects between layers, and work with that. Working with perspective drawing, so how to use a perspective grid to align your objects. Blending colors and shapes, so how to bring together, various blending modes, applying those to both, shapes, the polygon shapes, as well as things that you've drawn. Working with brushes, so again, how to create your own brushes, how to apply the ones that you've already, that are already created for you, how to load in brush libraries, applying effects, how to use those, applying appearance attributes and graphic styles. So again, styling your objects once they're drawn, working with symbols. So how to actually create something, once and use it repeatedly. So again, just to look at those student learning outcomes again, you've comprehended and applied the techniques used to create and modify artwork using a vector-based program. You've created and transformed Illustrator drawings. You've applied the elements of Illustrator skillfully in order to incorporate type and drawing images. And you've combined, integrated, modified, and rearranged layering, shadowing, transparency, and blending modes in order to create a variety of Illustrator images. So up until this point, you've used all of those skills and all of those things that you've learned just in working through the tutorials. Now you're going to actually apply those skills and learn some more sort of, basic design skills to actually create your own projects. So first, what is the role of a designer? What exactly does a designer do? A designer communicates a message through a dynamic composition. So the first key thing of that is you have to have a concept, you have to have a message in order to communicate it. A designer is someone who takes ideas and gives them visual form so that others can understand them. That's something that's very difficult. A lot of times what designers are doing and what you'll do in your projects is you'll take an abstract idea or a concept, and you actually figure out how to transform that into a visual form. A designer uses imagery, symbols, type, color, and material to represent the idea to be communicated and organize them into a unified message. So again, a designer is going to use all of those skills that are available to them, from images, symbols, typography, color, and they're going to use that sort of toolkit to take abstract ideas and actually give them a visual form. Here's a quote from Paul Rand, who's a very famous and well-respected designer that you should look up if you're not aware of him. To design is much more than simply to assemble, to order, or even to edit. It's to add value and meaning, to illuminate, to simplify, to clarify, to modify, to dignify, to dramatize, to persuade, and perhaps even to amuse. So again, you're not just taking sort of disparate things and ordering them. You're actually transforming them and accomplishing, ideally, typically not all those things, but, some of those things, and ultimately adding value through your work. So let's just talk about sort of the base rules for making good design and things that you can apply to the projects you'll be doing in the class. So 1, have a concept. It's impossible to design anything if you don't have a concept. As you recall from a little earlier in this talk, what a designer does is it communicates a message to an audience. So if you don't have a message, you don't have a concept, then, there's no possible way that you can be successful in your design. 2, communicate, don't decorate. So a lot of times I'll see, I'll talk to students about their work and they'll added something random to their design, and, I'll ask them, it'll be something that just looks out of place or looks strange, and I'll ask them, why, that's there, why they made a design decision, and they'll say something like, well, I just thought it needed something, or like, I threw it in there because it seemed like, it was missing something. You want to think about, as you're working through your designs, why you're actually making those design decisions and how it's ultimately affecting the communication of your work. 3, speak with one visual voice. So again, you never want to look at design, design should never look like a scrapbook. So you want to think about, making sure you have a unified message, make sure that the design decisions you're making are actually going well together. 4, use 2 typeface families maximum. Okay, maybe 3. Again, one of those sort of, obvious points of someone who's a very novice designer is someone who has a lot of typefaces on a page. If you can go and you can count, 10, 12 different typefaces, more than likely this is someone who either knows nothing about design or who is very new. So, try to restrain yourself. Typically, if you find that you need more variety, you can always add more. It's always a challenge creatively, and ultimately typically gives a better result if you limit the typefaces you're using initially. 5, use the 1-2 punch. Grab viewers' attention, then lead them through the rest. This is a way of saying, create a hierarchy. So think about what the first thing is that your viewer's going to see, and then, the second thing and the third thing, and think about really how a viewer's going to work their way through, visually and conceptually through your design. 6, pick colors on purpose. So understand why you're actually choosing those colors. If it comes down to, well, I picked orange because, orange is my favorite color and it has nothing to do with the concept, you've not only failed as a designer, but when you're working with a client, if the client happens to have, if it's just about favorite colors and the client's colors, favorite color's blue, your design's going to end up being blue. So, really think about how your colors affect the message, how your colors affect the communication. 7, if you can do it with less, then do it. If there's anything that you can take away from your design work, take it away. 8, negative space is magical. Create it. Don't just fill it up. So negative space is essentially sometimes referred to as white space, or, the ground when you're talking about figure ground. So, your design work doesn't have to have something in every single, part of the design. Negative space is really special, having something, having variety in your work where, some things are, very densely populated. Some areas are, have more negative space. That's going to create the way that your viewer interacts with your design work. So, as we were talking about in one of the previous points, where you want to think about how a viewer is going to make their way through your design work and understand your message, negative space is one of your tools to control that. 9, treat the type as image, as though it's just as important, because it is. So, think about if you're incorporating type, how that's actually interacting with the message. Again, or interacting with the image. Again, one of those things that typically shows what a novice designer or shows novice designer work is, when type is just sort of, pasted over top of an image. So think about really integrating it, really give consideration to how you're using the type and how it interacts with your composition. 10. Type is only type when it's friendly. Make sure it's legible. If you want someone to read the text, make sure that it's easy to read, understandable, and highly legible. 11. Be universal. Remember that it's not about you. So again, your work, your job as a designer is to communicate a message to your audience. So, it's not about sort of your preferences or how you would like to be communicated to. It's thinking about, who you are trying to communicate to and packaging and creating design that's going to speak to that audience. And again, talking to oneself is the domain of the fine artist. Being universal is the domain of the designer. So think about the other person. Think about how you can effectively communicate your message. 12. Squish and separate. Create contrasts and density and rhythm by pulling some material closer together and pushing other material further apart. So again, thinking about the overall visual texture, the overall density of your image is again going to affect how your viewer interacts with it. So, if everything is, equally dense, there's something in every possible corner of your composition, it's going to be overwhelming. Same if there's, almost, very, very few things, it's going to have a very different interaction with your viewer. And that's going to affect, your overall communication. So make sure that you have variety. So, some things are close together, some things are farther apart, and really consider how you're using that in order to communicate your message. 13. Distribute light and dark like firecrackers in the rising sun. So in other words, create a wide range of tonal value. So, think about what parts are very dark, what parts are very light. Everything shouldn't be light, everything shouldn't be dark. You should have a variety of both. And all of the, values in between. 14, be decisive. Do it on purpose or don't do it at all. So if you're just kind of like throwing something in or sneaking something in, it's not the way to go. Make sure that the design decisions that you're making are the ones you intend to make and that they are referring back to how you're actually communicating your message to your intended audience. 15. Measure with your eyes. Design is visual. In design, a thing is what it looks like. So, make sure that you're constantly looking at your work, stepping back from it, being critical, showing it to other people, getting feedback, really looking at it and trying to also, sometimes when you're working on something for a while, you lose sort of a sense of perspective. Step back, look at it, try to be critical, and try to solicit feedback from other people, which will be nice because that's actually what we'll be doing in class next week. 16, create images, don't scavenge. Make what you need and make it the best you can or pay someone else to do it for you. So, in this class, it's pretty nice. You have an advantage because you're actually creating the images yourself. If you're in a situation where you need images, either, find a partner that can create those images for you, create them yourself. Don't try to sort of, hodgepodge together from, Google image search or something like that. Make sure that you have original images. 17, ignore fashion. Seriously. So, it's always good to know what trends are out there and be aware of that. But, if you're trying to be trendy, you're always going to be behind. 18, move it. Static equals dull. So you want to have dynamic compositions that have, if you're working in a time-based medium that actually have movement, or if you're working in, for the purposes of these projects, either single images you're creating, but you can apply a lot of motion and movement through, your overall compositions and your color choices and, the text that you use or don't use, all of those things. 19, look to history but don't repeat it. Learn from and look at the work of others, but don't repeat it. So again, this is similar to, understanding fashion or trends. You want to look at what's gone before you, understand the history that you come through, But you're not looking to recreate that. I mean, every design that you make is going to be something that never existed before. It's ultimately creative. So you're working within a context of all the other design work and all the other work that's been out there, but you're actually creating something new. 20. Symmetry is the ultimate evil. The reason for that is it's generally static and it offers little movement. And static equals dull, as you remember from one of the previous slides. So, think about, inherently, again, for a lot of novice designers, they want to have sort of everything centered and in the middle of the page. When you can start to get away from that symmetry and embrace asymmetry, you're going to create much more dynamic compositions. So again, the process of design isn't linear. Typically for design work, you have research. In this case, you have 2 images you're ultimately going to create. You're going to choose one of the people that I've supplied for you, one of your clients, and also you. And for your client, you have their paragraph description of them, and you also have some photographs. For yourself, you're going to write a paragraph description of yourself, and then use some source imagery to actually create your social media avatars. From that, you're going to make some sketches. You're going to work at what's the overall idea you're going for. How are you taking those abstract ideas of the paragraph that you wrote about yourself and your source images, and actually creating something that's representative of that. For your client, for one of the people that I've supplied for you, actually taking their source imagery and the paragraph description of them and figuring out how to transform it into a social media avatar for them. From there, you're going to refine your sketches, which are, pretty quick, pretty easy, into drafts, which is what you're going to post this week on Blackboard and what we're going to critique next week. So your drafts, so your initial thoughts, your initial ideas. And I'm only requiring one draft for each, one draft for your social media avatar and one draft for your for the client that I supplied for you social media avatar. If you want to post more than that so you can get some more feedback, that's totally fine, and that it's highly encouraged, but only one's required. And typically when designers work, they go through many sketches, many drafts, and then finally you refine that down into a final. And I'm going to go ahead and show you examples of project 1. So here are some previous student examples, and you'll see if you look through the packet that I gave you, the source images, you'll be able to look at the paragraph and see how that's been transformed. Here's the second one. And so again, thinking about for these images, you're taking abstract ideas, the concepts, and obviously for all of these, you're not going to be able to, perfectly pick every single thing from the paragraph that you write about yourself or from the paragraph that has been provided for you. So you're picking out specific things to actually choose for when you create the social media avatar. So there should be some physical resemblance, and then also consideration of the concepts or the descriptive paragraph about you. This is one of the previous students and another previous student example. So again, really think about what represents you. Think about, the paragraph that you write, the paragraph that's been provided for you, and how to take that and actually give it a visual representation. So let's go ahead and go back to the presentation. And again, one of the things that you'll be doing next week, so this week you'll be posting your digital drafts for project 1 in Process. Next week, you'll actually be critiquing, posting at least 2 comments on 2 different people's design work on Blackboard for what they've posted. One of the things that's really key is that you learn to actually use design vocabulary so that you're, using the appropriate language to talk about the work. And I've provided, I think it's 4 pages or at least 4 sections of design vocabulary in the syllabus. So make sure that you read through that, familiarize yourself with that. Some of it's going to, feel pretty pretty understandable. Some of the vocabulary is going to be new for you, but make sure you're actually reviewing that and using that language when we do the critiques. And, since this is a recorded lecture, you can't ask me questions, but please, if you do have questions, make sure that you email them to me at the email address in the syllabus. And then just let me go to the project 1 description so that everyone's totally clear. Again, this description that I'm going over is just, it's page 9 in the syllabus. And also I should note that the examples that I just showed you in the lecture are also posted in the resources section on Blackboard. So again, for project 1, you're going to create 2 social media avatars. And so first you're going to create 1 social media avatar. And if you're not quite sure what that is, it's the little profile image that you see next to people's profiles on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., Instagram, all of those things. You're going to create 1 social media avatar for yourself and 1 social media avatar for one of the provided clients. And you'll find the client's photographs and paragraphs in the resources section on Blackboard as well. So you're going to create 2 avatars total for project 1. The avatar should have some physical resemblance to the person for which they're being designed, as well as communicate the content of the description of the person. The paragraph description as well as photos of the clients are provided on Blackboard. You should write and submit a paragraph description of yourself, as well as source reference photos of yourself for your avatar. You do not need to submit the reference photos of yourself. So on Blackboard, for this upcoming week, the thing that you need to post is your draft in progress for your social media avatar, your draft in progress for the client that I provided for you, and for your own social media avatar, make sure that you also submit the paragraph so that we know exactly what you're trying to communicate. In terms of technical specs, the avatar should be approximately a square format, so similar height and width. The Illustrator file should be set up to be 1,000 pixels in width by 1,000 pixels in height. The color mode should be RGB, and raster effects should be high, 300 ppi. There's no restriction on color or text usage, and all design decisions should relate to communicating the content. And then the rest of this, in your project, you should demonstrate that you can comprehend and apply the techniques used to create and modify artwork using a vector-based program, to create and transform Illustrator drawings, apply elements of Illustrator skillfully in order to incorporate type and drawing images, combine, integrate, modify, and rearrange layering, shadowing, transparency, and blending modes in order to create a variety of Illustrator images. And you'll note from earlier in the lecture that those are the learning objectives, the learning outcomes for the class. And so for this next week, or this week, you're submitting the PDF of your Illustrator file, or the PDF of your social media avatar for yourself. And again, for this week, you're submitting drafts, so I don't expect that it's going to be final work. You're going to be submitting it on Blackboard, and then we're going to critique it next week. You'll have the opportunity to revise it next week, and then we'll look at the final work the following week. When the final work is turned in several weeks, and you'll find the exact date in the syllabus, you're going to turn in Illustrator files of your final project. You'll have an Illustrator file for your social media avatar. You'll have an Illustrator file for your the client that I provided for you's avatar. You're going to have a PDF for each of those, and you're also going to include the file that includes a paragraph description of yourself that you use for creating your avatar. And then when I actually go to grade the final work, you'll get this back, and I'll grade you based on content, so how effectively you've communicated the message, which, as you remember, is the primary job of a designer. The form, so composition, economy of information, negative, positive, space balance, etc. So overall, composition, look, and then technique, proper presentation, properly prepared files, follow directions of assignment, etc. So I'm actually going to look at your Illustrator file, make sure that you set it up correctly, make sure it's the correct format, all of those things. And then you'll actually receive a grade. And so your final grade, A, B, C, D, F, and those descriptions are those descriptions that you see down here, the A, B, C, D, F descriptions, are actually taken directly from the syllabus. So what makes A work, what makes B work, what makes C work, D, and F. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you the process of actually uploading your work to Blackboard. So I'm going to get out of this and go ahead and switch over to Illustrator. And I just have, this is a previous student work sample. This isn't me. I'm just going to use it as an example of exactly how to get your work from your amazing masterpiece on Illustrator actually onto Blackboards, which is what you need to do this week. And then ultimately, once everyone's uploaded their work this week, next week, you will be critiquing in progress work for your fellow classmates and actually getting to see some of your fellow classmates. So, I'm in Illustrator. I've gotten to the point where I've gotten my digital draft to a finished point where I'm going to upload it to Illustrator. And you're going to do this process both for your social media avatar as well as for the social media avatar for the client that I provided for you. So I'm going to go ahead and do a file, save as. And instead of saving mine in format Illustrator, I'm going to save it as an Adobe PDF. So under format, I'm just going to choose Adobe PDF, and then I'm going to save it in a place that where I'll know where it is. So you want to save it where it works for you. For me, since this is a demo, I'm going to save it to my desktop. I'm going to give it a descriptive name. So I'm going to call it my name. So I'm going to say Steffel Beth Project 1 Draft. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And in the Save Adobe PDF dialog, you can go ahead and, let's see. Yeah, you can just go ahead and leave it at the Illustrator default. That'll be fine. Go ahead and save PDF. And I had it set so it'll automatically open up in Illustrator. I can look at the PDF. I can say, yes, this is what I want to upload. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Blackboard. And when you log into the class in Blackboard, announcements is going to show up first. But for this, I actually want to go to the discussion board, which is something that we haven't used yet. So the discussion board has gone ahead and loaded. And so for this, I'm going to choose Project 1 in Progress Critique, which is, what we're doing this week. Obviously, for subsequent weeks, the following week, you're going to upload your work to Project 1 Final Critique. You're going to do Project 2 in Progress Critique for the next one, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and do Project 1 in Progress Critique. And so as soon as I'm in the forum Project 1 in Progress Critique, I'm going to go ahead and create a thread. And for the subject, I'm just going to call it my name. So I'll say Steffel Beth Project 1 client avatar. And then once I have the subject in, I'm going to go ahead and put the message in, which will just be the paragraph description. So again, I'm using a previous student example, so I'm just pasting from their text file. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach the PDF that I just created. And let me just go ahead and find that. Oh, I think I put it on my desktop. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open my draft file. And once I have that in there, I'm going to go ahead and once I've verified that I have my subject with my name in it, Project 1, and indicated whether it was a client or my own avatar, I have my message in here that was my paragraph description, and then I have my attachment, which is my the PDF draft that I just saved out of Illustrator. I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And once it's finished uploading your file, and again, depending on the size of your file and your internet connection, it may take, up to 5-10 minutes. Just, let it work. Unfortunately, Blackboard doesn't really give us an indicator of, how long the upload process is. For the most part, your file is going to be relatively small. So, once it's finished, you'll see, I uploaded this, what the name of the thread is that I have, who uploaded it, all of that. If I want to go ahead and see it, I can click on the thread. And to actually see the draft, I can read the description of what it's actually supposed to say, and then to read the draft, I can just go ahead and click on it. And you'll see it took a little bit of time to load, but it loaded relatively quickly. And again, that's going to depend on your internet speed. And then to leave comments, which is just review again for this week, all you need to do is upload your file, which is what we've done. That's all you need to do. Next week, you'll actually be leaving critique feedback for your fellow classmates. So when you do that, you just hit reply. You're going to, for your classmates, you'll go ahead, click on their posts, you'll look at the work, and then you'll go ahead and hit reply. You'll get a message, and there you can go ahead and type in your message. If you'd wanted to say record a video or audio file as a response critique, if that's easier for you, you can do that as well. So either attaching a file or typing in a message. Once you've done that, you'll go ahead and hit submit, and you'll do that for at least 2 sets of your fellow students' work. And that is the end of what you need to do for this week. Again, if you have any questions, please email me at the email address in the syllabus. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing your work.